Hey everyone, it's Evan Kirstel and Dave Michaels on this special weekend edition.
Wait. You said, "Hey everyone, it's Evan and Dave Michaels." So did you mean "Hey everyone" and then not and meant to exclude me?
I can move you to the green room here and just do this myself. So now you see you're moved down to the green room. I may or may not decide to bring you back up. All right, let's bring him back up. We have a very special edition of Talking Heads, Talking Points, because it's been a super busy month, hasn't it?
October is always the busiest month because for some reason everyone wants to have an event in October. I don't know why.
Oh, we're in November. I'm not sure if you checked your daylight savings time yet, but we're
But
going to
we're
be
talking about
talking.
October.
We're talking about October, and
You
for
know why
those of
we didn't
you,
talk about October in October? Because it was too busy of an event of a month.
so for those of you looking retroactively through life like us, let's talk about October first. What is this talking points thing? This newsletter thing that you do
Oh,
for
this is
the
the insider report,
uninformed?
Evan, and so that's it's reasonable that you wouldn't understand that because you're not an insider. Of course, you're an insider, and of course, you're a subscriber. The insider report is a report I put together. It's part of my enhanced services behind the paywall. It has a monthly newsletter. It has research notes, and this is the monthly newsletter of October, which publishes the first week of November.
All right, clear as mud, just like Twitter. The strategy is completely transparent and
I'm
clear.
going to fire everybody. I laid off half the staff of Talking Points through a tweet. Actually,
It's very sad. It's very sad. Luckily, I survived. But so let's dive into it. What's your first talking point of the session?
the first thing actually was because it was such a busy travel month, is that I could not help but notice that I don't think it's fair for me to say the pandemic is over, but I think
How
it's
dare
fair
you?
for me to say that the fear of COVID is over. People seem to be out and about and breathing on me everywhere I go.
Well, I still have some uncertainty about groups, but you're right. The airports are full, the flights are full, the events are full. I was just at a cardiology event of all things, covering it on Twitter as I
You
do.
don't want to talk.
A-
You don't say cardiology event. That's a really bad toot because
Yes,
they're
that was a
experts.
cardiology conference, and none of the cardiologists were wearing masks. So what does that tell you? I don't know,
They're
but
out of it. They can't get them. They can't get them anymore. But no, it's surprising because I don't know. I guess President Biden said the pandemic is over, but no, I'm not sure anybody in the health profession did. But certainly the fear of it is over, and it's just surprising. It's like a switch on and off. We turned it off or we turned it on, and everything emptied out. Airports emptied out. Everything, all these famous pictures of crowded cities completely empty, and then it's back on again. And going through TSA is it's back to 1999.
living like it's 1999 again.
Are,
Well,
are you on, are you on the bridge of the Enterprise?
I am. Yeah, I have one rebuilt in my basement, but we'll talk about that afterwards. Speaking of which, of COVID being quote unquote over, we're going to a Zoom event, but not on Zoom. We're actually going in person, which is the ultimate irony, is it not?
I've been thinking about this because I've been telling people that I'm going to my second Zoom event, and so Zoomtopia is coming up in the second week of November, and you have we had a Zoom analyst event. I think it was in possibly August, and so it's like two in-person Zoom events, and this is the company that was famous for at home, but Zoom doesn't want to be associated with staying at home anymore. I think they're purposely rotating. Let's get back to live events. Of course, there's a virtual element. Of course, people can watch the keynotes on Zoom if they want. And Zoom Events is, of course, is a software package that they sell. So I think it's gonna be good. And the difference between these events, the event I went to a few months ago was all about Zoom. And Zoomtopia, people think is all about Zoom, and it is, but it's also all about the community. They have a pretty good expo hall. A lot of vendors are there. It's a great place to be seen, great place to see people, and so I'm really looking forward to Zoomtopia.
Me too. I'm flying out 7 a.m. tomorrow, so we have to get over with this thing quick. But yes, I'll see you there tomorrow. On
You got
that
plenty of
subject,
time. You don't go to the airport that early, I'm sure. Although you're
I
a
go
little
to
out of
bed.
bed.
I'm going to bed in about an hour. But speaking of Zoom, and by extension 5 9, and industry insiders will understand the
The,
connection.
the company that
Um,
almost
you-
was.
the company that almost was the CEO that is no more.
It surprised a lot of people that Rowan was leaving or 5 9. It didn't surprise me, honestly, and I could defend that because last time I saw Rowan, I said, "Why are you still here? Is it time for you to go?" And I said that respectfully. He's done a great job at 5 9. He's done some spectacular
They say
things.
that to you all the time, but that's a separate
But I always kind of felt
conversation.
that he wasn't going to be there long term, and I kind of felt like he'd done the heavy lifting that he got, and he was probably getting ready to go. I thought he would go to a crypto startup. He assures me he's not going to a crypto startup, but he hasn't said where he's going. And I think that the guy coming in to replace him, Mike Birkland, was the CEO. It'll be interesting. The market certainly didn't react well. I mean, Rowan got a lot done while he was there, but I also think that Rowan is doing what he needs to do, and I think 5 9 will be fine.
Well, who the hell wants to be the CEO of a public company at the moment? It's a yikes. What a job
Yeah, it's
that
funny
must be.
because they're going to he says he's going to a pre-IPO company, and he's trying to be descriptive and not descriptive at the same time. Everybody's a pre-IPO company as far as I know right now. I'm pretty sure your company's pre-IPO, my company's pre-IPO, but he's not coming to either one of our companies. I guess he's not coming to mine. I don't know if he's coming to your company, but no, pre-IPO is kind of a wide gamut. A lot of companies, a lot more companies are pre-IPO than companies that are IPO'd. So.
So speaking
Didn't
of
do much.
post-IPO companies, Google, there was a big Google event called Next. I was there in person in New York City. But what was your takeaway from Google Cloud Next?
I get a lot of questions around Google. Most questions are they really serious about this stuff? Because they're really about advertising on one hand, and then Google Cloud is really around selling their cloud compute services. And so, are they really serious about this enterprise comm stuff? And I have to say they are. They did a tremendous job during the pandemic, assuming that it ended, of improving Google Meet, and Google Meet became a real contender for video conferencing. And then at Google Next, they actually announced a bunch of updates. Oh, there's a notification. They actually announced a bunch of updates for Google Chat. Got significant updates, and now that used to be you were limited to just 400 people in the chat, now you're limited to 8,000. So that's actually enterprise level chat services, and they've also expanded their encryption, client-side encryption, to Google Calendar. So they're definitely turning up the volume to 11 on these enterprise apps. I think we're going to hear some news next month about Google Voice. You remember Google Voice? Nobody else
Oh, I
does, but
remember
you
that
do.
from the 90s. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
great.
yeah. They've discovered they still have it there. But back to that client-side encryption stuff, that was something that they launched a little while ago because they get accused of being an advertising company and reading all your information. But they've extended that from Google Meet to Drive, Docs, Sheets, Slides, and now Calendar. So you can have your privacy and eat it too on Google.
Awesome. Well, moving from one tech giant to the next, Microsoft. What's happening there? Because I'm always befuddled by the latest Microsoft's bundles, pricing, marketing.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Well, the reason you're befuddled, is that what you said? Befuddled
Befundles, yes,
is
befundled.
because they don't really like to talk to us influencers and analysts pre news. And so we get a lot of our news, secondhand news. If you remember that bit from Saturday Night Live, but anyway. But they dropped some interesting announcements. By far, the biggest announcement is later in the report because we're kind of going through this report in the UC section. But in this part of the section with chat and video, an interesting thing they did was they came out with a premium bundle for teams. And this is interesting because one of the most common reasons people say that they use Teams is because it's free. And it's done phenomenally well. It's got something like 70% penetration in enterprise. All these free users are upgrading their PCs because the client uses up all the computing power. But free is free, and the problem is if you have a product that is getting 70% penetration and it's free, you want to monetize it. So they came up with this Teams Premium bundle, which is pretty clever. It's not really clear. Like Zoom has a premium bundle associated with calling features. So if you're a heavy calling feature, a calling user, you might want that premium bundle for Zoom. But Microsoft's premium bundle is kind of all over the place. It has some features around calling, some features around webinars, some features around chat. It's just kind of all over the place. But it's $10 a month. And I'm sure a lot of enterprises will buy it for all their employees without even really questioning it. And so the free service is now $10 a month, unless you have.
All right, well, let's move on, or I might fall asleep during this section of the live stream.
Oh dear,
which wouldn't be good.
But the bigger news we'll get to in the UC section. All right, what else we want to talk about?
I see something called Telepresence Redo. Redux, as the American call it. Now that's interesting to me because I thought telepresence was dead as a doorknob.
No. Every decade there's a new version of telepresence, right? And so at one point it was crystal clear audio, just like you're being there, hear a pin drop. Then it became video, and then it became better audio, and then it became wideband video and HD video. And so we keep on improving telepresence, and companies like what's that Skywalker Ranch company? What is that company? Whatever. They had life-size video conferencing because they really wanted to be as if you were in the same room. And so, that was like 10 years ago. And so there's always this new version of telepresence. But this month in October, so actually last month, but in October, we got 3 glimpses of the future of high definition telepresence, one from Google, one from Meta, and one from Cisco. And they were all various versions of 3D video conferencing. And I would say the Meta one, of course, is animated, but it's meant so that you can look around and move around and whatever. And they made a big announcement with Microsoft, which is interesting. Microsoft's bringing Teams to Meta Horizon Office settings. So I think it was a brilliant move.
Excel in the metaverse. I can't wait. This is going to be
Excel in the metaverse.
Exciting.
Microsoft's got nothing to lose on this one. They're bringing Teams, which is what Meta wanted, and they get full access to all of Meta's investments, including hardware. So that was a good move for Microsoft. So that's Meta. Google came up with a fancy booth. You always make fun of me in my phone booths, but Google came up with a telepresence booth. It's like a half a room, and the other person gets half a room, and then they video together, and they make, it's as if they're in the same room, and they can move around. They can see different angles. Very high quality stuff. Way too expensive to ever sell this. They're experimenting for the future. They're putting it into customer sites. It's good stuff. They're building some really interesting stuff.
It's going to be ready for 6G. It's going to be really 6G.
I think we're talking 9G.
No.
But it's going to be a ways out there because they can't even put a price on it yet. Now, Cisco has a thing called hologram technology. It's part of WebEx. They actually introduced it last year, but they've improved it. Now they're using the Magic Leap glasses, goggles, and I got to actually play with this one at the WebEx open house they had, and it's pretty interesting. Cisco's more about prototypes or models, and they can either be a model that you are showing a remote person, and then if I'm showing you a model of something, say a prototype of a product, then I have this panel that has all these different cameras and sensors, and then you on the remote end have these Magic Leap goggles, and you can kind of look around, look at the bottom, stuff like that. It also works with 3 projected stuff, so I can have an animation of a model like a screen share, and then you're able to actually move it around and look at different sides of it, shake it upside down and see what falls out. So that one is also in kind of pre-shipping mode. The panels are still really expensive. They're putting it out to customers. They share with me some customers and how they're using it, and they have props that were related to that customer. But this is the next generation, and it's not quite available for you and me yet.
All right. Well, I see some surgeons wanting to examine 3D images and things through these, so I imagine that's going to be a fun use case. You also talk a little bit about Poly, and Logi, some certifications. What's going on there?
So this is kind of, you're going to find this hard to believe, Evan, but Poly and Logi have moved to an Android-based, actually Cisco has too, an Android-based system for their video room controls. and these are now certified. Cisco uses them in their systems. Microsoft has them in their ecosystem, and Zoom has them in their ecosystem. But the thing that will surprise you is that Google has always been Android. No Android around here. We're Google. We don't use Android. Google's always been using Chrome OS powered devices, which are very powerful devices, but they're very proprietary. And so companies like Poly and Logi don't really want much to do with that. And so somehow Poly and Logi were able to convince Google to put in their existing Android-based systems into Google Meet rooms, and Google somehow said yes. And so that opens up a whole new world of video conferencing systems, and it actually makes them a little cheaper and a little more competitive. So finally, Google has discovered that Android actually has a purpose besides smartphones.
Awesome. Next stop, cars. So we'll see that next. You were at the WebEx 1, the big event. Any
mentioned that, yeah. So I already mentioned that earlier, but I want to mention something that's, WebEx is really pushing down the suite play. You buy a WebEx suite now, and they're really trying to sell the suite, kind of like the Microsoft play. A lot of companies are actually doing this now. And but one thing that's not
you get your Apple bundle. Apple One comes with everything. What do I get as part of my talking points bundle? Do I get anything besides
you get live stream guests? You get a live stream guest. And
can you add a phone booth? Can maybe add a phone booth or some other,
I thought my phone booth was
antiquated technology.
Not going to go down the phone booth, but you're not going to work. But I want to mention one thing that's not in the WebEx suite that they had on display at the Cisco WebEx Open House, a product called Cisco Spaces. There's only so many words that work in our space, and so enterprise. I don't know how many companies have a Spaces product now. I'm not even sure. Too many companies, but Cisco Spaces is actually about physical space, not virtual space, and the idea of it is to help you manage your offices. And what the big news at the WebEx Open House is that the WebEx products now talk to Cisco Spaces. So when you have Cisco Spaces that are representing your office, you can see all the desks, and you can see where all the equipment is. You can see the air quality, and you can see which hot desk you might want to reserve or rent. But now you can actually see how many people are logged in, and the Cisco WebEx suite is actually talking to it. I think Microsoft just announced something similar. They didn't call it Spaces; they called it Places. But Microsoft has something coming next year, something along this line. But this hybrid office thing has the IT companies trying to figure out how to manage physical spaces or places or whatever better now, which is something new for us to be influencing.
Awesome. So let's shift gears to customer engagement, the CX world. What's up with that?
What's up with that is exactly my reaction. The biggest news there was Genesys decided to kill its multi-cloud products. And I have to say, if they would have announced this a year ago, I would have said, I get it. I understand the future's cloud. If they would announce this a year from now, I probably would have said, I get it. The future's cloud. Let's double down. Let's go focus on cloud. But they announced it now, which I find perplexing, to be honest, because of the state of Avaya. Avaya, as you know, is kind of in a turmoil state. They haven't announced their last quarter, which is they're very late on, and Gartner has been very cautious about advice to their customers, saying you might want to close your wallet as far as Avaya is concerned. They put out an advisory, and so it seems to me that Avaya base, which is huge and not particularly customers that want CCaaS, really want a multi-cloud type of solution. That's what they're getting from Avaya. So it seems to me when that base, which is bigger than your company, is up for grabs, it seems like a strange time to be discontinuing that product. And so it's good news for Cisco. It's good news for Mitel. It's good news for a handful of other companies. But very strange timing from Genesys.
Interesting. Anything else? You had quite a boondoggle over to. Was it Morocco, or where were you?
The NICE put on their event in Morocco,
Nice.
and NICE event in Morocco. That's exactly the sentence they were looking for, and it was a great event. Me, I'm all business. I don't really things like that. mean nothing to me. I just want to
Yeah,
be in a room with
food
no
and drink and all that. No,
one buffet is
it's
the
really.
same whether it's in Morocco or somewhere else. And so the point is that it was a great event because what I really like about we talked about this with our recent podcast with Anat, the CMO there, is that they do so much unscheduled time at their events. And
Mm.
I find that particularly productive. I actually, you might find this hard to believe, but I actually get kind of tired in 10 hours of taking notes and presentations all day in a room with no windows. And so they kind of limit it to half a day. And then they have these activities and events, and they bring out their whole executive team. And you end up having really good conversations, not only with the nice executives, but also with my peers and colleagues, because we're talking about the things that we heard. And I find that I actually learn a lot more at a nice event because of their unstructured structure. Does that make sense? As opposed to some other events that jam pack the agenda with
Well, I went to
session.
an unevent once. Have you ever been to an unevent where there is no
I
agenda, no
I don't
groups,
I
and you
don't I
just sort
don't
of.
I don't. That's a little too unstructured for me. I don't really get those. The guy in the kilt is what you're talking. The pink socks.
Yes, Nick. Yes, shout
Yes.
out to Nick. So, how many events did you attend in October? I'm up to like 4 or 5. What's
I
going
think I
on
think it
here?
was 5. Yeah, we haven't covered all of them yet. So we let's see. We had the nice event in Morocco. I went to UC Expo in London. Actually, several of us did do both of those events, which meant that we had to leave Morocco right away and go right to London. And so about 4 or 5 of us did the same program. And then let's see. The following week, I went to Chicago for the Cloud Communications Alliance. Is that CCA? I think it's CCA. They
The
put on their event.
CCA.
That's the old BroadSoft group. Basically, it's bigger than BroadSoft, but they put it's a bunch of independent service providers. Some of them are on BroadSoft, some of them are Cisco now. Some of them are on Metaswitch. Some of them are on 2600. And Crescendo is there. We've had Crescendo on the podcast. And they get together on a regular basis, and they still put on great content. The next one, by the way, is in January in Fort Lauderdale, and I definitely plan to be there. Maybe I'll see you there because we've been to events in Fort Lauderdale, so I associate that with you. The other thing,
Yes.
then after that came, I left Chicago, went right to WebEx 1 in San Jose. And then the following week was the Ring Central event up in Napa. So 5 events in October.
That's exhausting. I don't envy you. It's too much. It's too much. But you're doing a great. Keep it up. Keep it up. You're
No,
doing a
one,
great
one
job.
thing one thing we did this on the podcast. Actually, we briefly talked about with Anat. We talked about Sweetform, and I said we're going to get back to it, and we never got back to it. But I want to just touch on Sweetform a little bit because I think it's
It
really
sounds like
interesting.
is it a kind of men's underwear? Or what is Sweetform?
No. You're thinking of Sweet, SWEET, and it's sweet
Okay.
as in sell the sweet. But what I find so interesting about this is you have the same conversation occurring from 2 opposite extremes working toward each other. So on one side, you've got NICE, who's a traditional package contact center vendor, and they're also a workforce engagement vendor. And so they built a suite, but they have these traditional applications, and they want them to be more extensible, and they want them to work better together and to be easier for their customers to integrate all the different modules they have. And so they call that a suite form because it's part platform and part suite, and they're bringing this together. And if you listen to them, they want to tear down the silos. They want to reduce the barriers to using up more products. They want to make it easier for customers to get to the next level. Blah blah blah. So it's very interesting conversation because you go to the other end. Let's say to Twilio, who just had their event last week, Signal Conference. They're coming from pure APIs, no suite whatsoever, and then, or excuse me, I should say no application whatsoever, but they're building out a suite of APIs that go toward contact center and go toward customer engagement, and they're saying the exact same things. You have to tear down the silos. You have to make it easier for your customers to go deeper and better, and so they're both coming from very opposite directions, kind of toward the center, which is a suite form, credit to Enot and NICE, for a combination of a highly extensible set of applications. And it's phenomenal the way these are coming together. I think NICE has a fantastic suite and a fantastic suite form. Twilio has a fantastic set of APIs. They're going to have a little bit of work to do to make that really come together for a lot of enterprise customers. But I love their vision, and they're making incredible progress.
Okay, well, I was taking a shot every time you said sweet form, so now
Yeah.
I'm really buzzed. But we'll continue on the journey through the Talking Heads newsletter. There's something about Chrome. Now, why should I care about Google Chrome?
Well,
How is that enterprise communications?
it's in the contact center section, and I love it when a vendor just finally, puts down their cards, face up, and admits the truth. And so you've heard it before. A lot of vendors say this. We heard the term over and over: a single pane of glass. And every vendor seems to have some sort of solution with a single pane of glass.
Sounds so cool. It just sounds beautiful, glass.
Yeah, if you like unless you like glass. If you like glass, you want lots of panes. But there's this theory is but this goal is often very elusive, which is why so many vendors keep promising it, and because nobody can really get there. So what Google did was they finally admitted it. Maybe this single pane of glass isn't working out for you, and so we got the Chrome Desk connector and it's the first thing they've made just for the contact center. And what they're doing here is that you get a new engagement, a new call, or some sort of new engagement comes in. And when that happens, the contact center vendor can open a whole bunch of tabs for you in 1 second. So you have a clean starting point, and you've got your CRM, possibly your contact center desktop, maybe some other database you need to access, whatever, a nice clean set of windows. And then when the call or interaction is over, they all go away. And and you start over again with that. And so they're like all these different Chrome tabs and they don't have to go away. You can make them so they stay, and you can close them later with one click. But I think it's this nice admission. It's two important takeaways. It's a nice admission that the single pane of glass is not for everybody. And then the second one is this is the first extension to Chrome that Google has made specifically for the contact center. And so if you're wondering if Google's kind of serious about their contact center interests, they are.
Well, I remember their presence at Enterprise Connect earlier this year. It was kind of stunning to see Google on display there, a show they traditionally have not attended. So moving on to the unified communication section, this is your meat and potatoes, I'd say, of the report. You talk about Teams Phone Mobile. Are they bringing back the Microsoft phone, smartphone? What's going on?
That would be a good one. That's a good guess. So actually, back at Enterprise Connect, back in March, they announced on the keynote stage Operator Connect Mobile, and it was actually pretty interesting. And they said we don't know when it's coming. They wouldn't give us a date. And so I just kind of filed that away as probably be talked about at the next Enterprise Connect next year. I thought that was kind of reasonable. I actually wrote a research note kind of along these lines. I called it UCAS Mobility 3 because there were 3 keynotes at Enterprise Connect in March that covered what I call UCAS Mobility 3. One was from Cisco, one was from RingCentral, and one was from Microsoft. Cisco announced their product, WebEx Go, at Enterprise Connect. RingCentral already had a product, and they showed it with AT&T Office at Hand. And Microsoft announced a product coming sometime in the future. Well, that future is now, about 7 months later. They launched what they renamed it, Teams Phone Mobile, and they launched it in Sweden on Telia, and they launched it in Canada on Rogers. Supposedly, Verizon will be launching it in the U.S. later this year, early next year. And what this is what I call UCAS Mobility 3, the convergence of cellular and UCAS in one service. And so now your IT administrator can literally move phone numbers between smartphones and desktops and soft phones. And more importantly, the Teams number in this case becomes the native number of the smartphone. It's not a add-on, it's not top. It's actually the native number, has full PBX features on the smart mobile device. And so Microsoft launched this obviously in Sweden first because the Scandinavians are crazy about their mobile devices. But it's going to be pretty big when Verizon launches it here in the US. And meanwhile, RingCentral still has this available from AT&T Office at Hand, and we're going to get here I think it's the next story. They announced at their event that they are expanding with Vodafone and launching in UK and I think it was Germany. I'll have to see when we get to the page. But so there's a UCAS Mobility 3 option from Ring Central, and it's the same thing, native experience on the smartphone. And then Cisco WebEx Go is available globally, and they do a different approach. They actually do it through an MVNO, and so your phone actually says Cisco WebEx, or it says WebEx as your carrier provider. But as a result of that, it works globally, and just and you just roam to wherever you happen to be. So so big news on the UCAS mobility front.
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal. People have been talking about this for what, 5 years, 8, 10 years, but it looks like it's
always been the
real.
goal, right? It's always been the goal, and it's arrived. I that research note I can't remember, I think it went out in May. Talked about some other possibilities that we might be seeing from other vendors. I'm kind of waiting for Dialpad and T-Mobile to do something. That would make sense to me. I'm kind of waiting for a few other shoes to drop. We had Crescendo on, and I think I could see them doing something with Mavenir. But and then of course Ericsson bought Vonage. So these worlds are definitely colliding, and it offers a number of benefits to the. It actually is very potentially disruptive. And if you think about it this way, let's say, Evan, that your company of 1,000 employees, we're on a Via Cloud Office, which is powered by Ring Central. And let's say you really like this, you're really happy. And so Via's happy because they're getting a commission on this. You're happy, Ring Central's happy, everyone's happy. But then you get wind of this feature from Office at Hand powered by Ring Central, and you want that. You're going to have to switch from your Via Cloud Office to AT&T Office at Hand. For you, it's the same service, so basically the same features, same everything, but now your mobile phones will work. For a Via, they're not going to be so happy. So this is going to be very channel disruptive as companies move from. It's the same thing with pretty much.
I like disruption, as we've seen with Twitter. Lots of disruption is good. Well, maybe not too much disruption, but yeah, definitely mobile it's been too long coming. So it's good to see these things being rolled out in real life. And I'm sure it's going to be a big topic at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, which you should head over there.
They won't even bring it up. They're too busy talking about antennas and
5G.
Yeah. 5G. Yeah.
But you should head over there. You'll be in Portugal. It's only a little short flight to Barcelona. And
I should. Are you going to go?
I'm there every year. So I'm at my MWC every year. So we should grab some.
Did you rent
dinner at 12:30?
Did you rent an apartment with an extra room for me, or?
I will, just for you. You'll have the basement, so it's fine. Okay, so we got through a lot of news. Anything else top of mind? And are you already writing the next month?
Well, I've already started next month's report. Obviously, there's already big stories in there, and of course we've got Zoomtopia coming up, and I'm expecting a lot of news from Zoomtopia. I wrote after my last visit I mentioned earlier, I think it was back in August, I said Zoom had no big ideas at this event, and I hope they have some big ideas at Zoomtopia. I'm feeling more confident that I will not be disappointed. So I think
how about a B2B metaverse? That's what we need. Can we get that, or has Meta ruined the metaverse for everyone else?
Meta has both ruined it and still imaginary. So
okay.
Whatever.
I just want to play video games all day. So can I just do that? And they call it the metaverse. I mean, that's my goal. Well, look, I will see you at Zoomtopia in person, and I think that's it, folks.
I think that's it.
So
thanks for watching. If you watched the live stream, thanks for listening. If you listen to it on Docking Heads, and
awesome.
Very good. Thank you.
See everyone. Bye.